Amsterdam Kitchen. Join us live on Saturday mornings
from 10 till 12
on Broadcast Amsterdam.
Or catch up later.
It's all online. Right, you're listening to Amsterdam Kitchen on Broadcast Amsterdam, and I am delighted this morning to welcome Damien Taylor of Damien the Chef to the show this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
It's a pleasure, especially when you bring cake.
Always bring cake. It's really important.
Very well-behaved guest. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Damien, you have been cooking in Amsterdam a long time. Tell us a bit more about where and how and what style.
So I came here as a chef. I previously worked in fine dining restaurants, that sort of thing. I had a stint in the Air Force. And when I came out of the Air Force, I didn't really want to go back into hotels and restaurants. So I went into contract catering, which is like corporate catering.
Yeah.
And I suddenly discovered it was a wonderful world of officers who were willing to pay a fortune for food in comparison to what you'd be able to spend on a dish within a hotel. And I kind of fell in love with that world. Great hours, fantastic equipment, brilliant ingredients, and everything else after that is just kind of fallen in.
Fantastic. This is a little trade secret, I think.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. And I came here to, I worked for Microsoft in the UK, their head office.
Yeah. Wow.
About 5,000 people for lunch every day, lots of different disciplines. So from the very basic to kind of stick. And then I came to Microsoft in Schiphol.
Right. Okay. It was through Microsoft that you landed here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was your next move?
Well, I worked for the caterer. I worked for this fantastic company who exists in the south called Hudson Catering, owned by Bob Hutton, and they were the main reason I came here. They had this vision of doing it differently to everybody else.
Okay.
More like fresh food, organic, local suppliers. They wanted to have their own milk supply. They were, like 12, 15 years ago, they were talking about doing the things that people are doing today. We're going to grow, we're going to do this, and they've done exactly that. And I've been part of that amazing growth. And you learn a lot in that process. So it's been it's been a good lesson. Yeah. And, and it also changes your mind about food, because as a chef, you're looking for the best ingredients, but you don't think about how you come to that. Right.
Okay. So give us an example, perhaps, of a shift of thinking there.
An example would have been that obviously the Netherlands drink a lot of milk, and we wanted to get out of the milk supply chain because there was a lot of pus in milk and antibiotics and things like that.
Yeah.
So we sourced out our milk, one of the first people to do it, from a farm that was about to go bankrupt. So we took the milk and we packaged it differently. We gave a fair price for milk, and that was the beginning. Eggs, for example. The Dutch love their eggs for lunch, so we got the eggs from this farm, and they were so fresh that you couldn't peel them. They were like the skin was going in. So, and then same with the cows. We looked into what they were being fed, what they were feeding, what we were feeding the cows, and that was a bit of a learning process, because you look a bit deeper into it. Normally you just get your meat; it's fantastic. But you had to look at what the cows were eating, whether they were getting antibiotics, what the veterinary care of them was in the background. So you learn a tremendous amount. You find yourself in the evening reading about swine husbandry and that kind of thing. And I have to say, it's been a bit of an adventure. I found myself in fields with knives and looking at vegetables, and it's been really good.
Yeah, a real deep dive. Well, I don't think many people would do that. So that's a really interesting place for you to have gone to.
Indeed.
What I find really interesting is that you found a way to take what you're learning and your knowledge on an ongoing basis and share them with a wider audience outside your company and the professional world via your Damien the Chef persona and particularly, I really like the cookbook that you developed and released for free. Tell us the reasoning behind that, if you can.
So we, a couple of chefs in Amsterdam, we got involved with a fantastic guy called Matthew McGurn, who started a company, a charity, called One Big Feed. One Big Feed, they give warm food to homeless people or people who have, what would be the correct word, difficulties within Amsterdam. So we started with this thing, turning up and feeding, and a few homeless centres in Amsterdam, and me and a lot of chefs got involved in that. Fantastic thing. Started by Matthew, carried on by a few other people, and we step in when the regular chef can't do it, or there's a lack of revenue or a lack of funds. Do we help them? And it's been quite good. So in that process, we also got involved with the food bank, and we realised that actually there's quite a lot of people willing to help people eat on a daily basis, but there's nobody giving them the tools after that.
Yeah.
And there was a particular situation, particular moment with a guy who was saying, well, I'm going to get out of this, but I don't know what to do when I get out. It was difficult. Mm-hmm. So during the pandemic, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to write a book. One of the things I noticed when I was at the food bank was that mince was the first thing to go. Mince. And I was like, well, why do you want this? What is it? He said, well, I know if I take this, I take that, I've got 10 meals. And it's versatile.
Yes.
I need 100 grams of this. And I've seen the same thing in the drop-in centre. Homeless, but you would kind of do pork chops or lamb or even steak. They wouldn't eat it. Mainly because they don't have many teeth. But, But mince, if you did lasagna, 3 portions. You would do, like, if you do it to 100 people, you need 300 portions to feed them.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, it's a really it's a popular thing, but it's not sexy.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll write a book. I'll do it. I fancy doing it anyway. I got 3 months at home where, most of the restaurants were closed, and I just wrote it. And then feedback from other people were like, why do you cost it? Connecting with Lidl, why don't you just do with little ingredients where most people shop, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And then there you have the book. And
and so good of you, you dropped it, I believe is the term, online, so it's available free.
Yeah.
Which is a very generous act. It's fantastic. And I also really like the photography in it. That was it's very high quality.
Yeah. So we've got a fantastic photographer at work who helped me. A lot of the dishes, the front cover, the shakshuka is a one we did at work, and then any dishes because at the time during the pandemic I couldn't shop, I couldn't do it. It would have the photography in a book can take weeks.
Yes.
So I did. Some of the images were given to me by other people. I did buy about 5 or 6 images at the end just to fill the book up.
Yeah.
And what was really good was that the recipes I was able to give to other people, they cooked them, and a lot of the recipes came from other people. Yeah, so in a way, it's a collection of recipes, and not haven't necessarily come from me, but they've actually been adjusted by other people. I said, can you go to Aldi and can you cook this? Can you come back? Can you do this?
It's a complete road test.
Yeah.
Which is super important, isn't it? Because as you say, a lot of people don't have the skills necessarily, so they need a lot of guidance along the way.
Yeah, and of course, friends and chefs and other people, they have that. But I didn't want chefs to do it. I wanted my neighbours, my friends to do it, and they could give a little bit more insight. I think it's important. I think chefs like Jamie Oliver and people, they do fantastic things. They've democratised food in a way that people could not imagine. But I think the skill comes from passing on skills from other people, and it comes at a certain level. And the text, I was asking, is this is too complicated? Is there too many steps? How do you...
Yeah.
And from that conversation, I was able to gather where it was. I mean, it's not perfect. I wouldn't sell the book because spelling mistakes in it. Of course, I'm a chef. I'm not a... and my wife pointed out there's like 4 spelling mistakes in it, which I think is fantastic. Yeah. But I think it's an insight, and doing the book was a good process for me because the conversations I've had then and since, I've kind of learned something, and I feel as I didn't waste lockdown.
Yeah, no, I was looking at the book yesterday, and it has got a very sort of open and accessible feel to it. It is like you use the word democratising food, and that definitely comes across.
Great title, Magnificent Mince. Because I think you're right, it rebrands it a bit like it's got the unsexy, and it's like, no, it's brilliant, celebrate it.
Yeah, and sorry, go on.
So indeed, and that came from, I asked a person, why do you like mince? What is it about it? And he just said, well, it's magnificent. Yeah. And that's where the title came from, because I was looking for a title. I was going to call it something else. I was going to call it just mince or something. And then it came with this. And
Imagine in Dutch it would be gemaakt, I think they call mince, but you'd have to think of an adjective. Something gemaakt.
Well, it's funny because it's being translated in the Dutch at the moment.
Oh, really?
By a fantastic woman, a fantastic lecturer at a university in Groningen, has actually given the project to 3 students to translate it. I think it's going to be called Glorious Hacked.
Yeah.
Is that the correct? I don't know.
The all-important alliteration.
They're giving it a kind of new lease of life, and it's brilliant because they've come and said, look, we like the book, we want to change this, want to change that, and I've just kind of went, go on.
Yeah.
It's going to have a life of its own now.
Yeah.
I'm not so petty about it. I don't think it was a fantastic book anyway, and they're marketing it now to university students who struggle.
Perfect. Yeah.
Which is I'm glad it's finding that new way.
Oh, that's great. I was going to ask you actually about who the audience is. Do you think?
Yeah, at the moment, I checked this morning. I'm just under 12,500 downloads.
Wow.
Yeah, and in the UK, it was shared by Red Cross, the Trussell Trust. I think shared it. I believe I seen it go by. But of course, once it's in PDF and it goes out there, it gets shared and you have no control over it. And
it could be way more than that for the illegal downloads, but we don't really mind so much. But you've put a lot of thought into all sorts of things. You know the costings per portion, and also where to get the ingredients, not too many fancy ingredients. And basically, you have this motto, or not motto, but principle that you should be able to get the food from Aldi and Lidl.
Yeah.
What are your reasons behind that?
I envision my audience will be the UK and NL, and they're very similar in their buying situations. Although they do buy slightly different things, actually, fundamentally, the top 300 products in Aldi and Lidl are the same in both countries.
All right.
Yeah. So I sort of thought, well, that's where I live, that's my market, that's my target. But I think it's good quality.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a massive difference. People think, well, Albert Heijn, it's kind of the high-end Jumbo. There's not a massive difference if you take mince or you take vegetables on a very... And the thing that with this book is that I wanted to demonstrate that you could make a kind of a unfashionable product sexy, but it's not it's very popular. It's just that no one's Instagramming mince.
Yes.
And
they are now.
Well, they can now with your photo.
Yeah, well, and I don't care about that, and because I kind of was more like, well, I wanted to make it better than it was.
Yeah.
Because it's a hero, isn't it? I mean, how many people has it sustained? How many people enjoy it?
Yeah.
And the key thing is, I think, once you get people cooking, and you give them the confidence, and then I think people then can start making the other choices about food. People say, oh, you shouldn't eat this, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't. But actually, you have to start cooking. If you don't cook food and you don't prepare fresh food, then you have no say over what goes in it.
And that leads to potentially health issues or
when we all eat an element of processed food. Yeah, it's part of what we do. But I think if you're at home and sometimes it's the price, and the equipment was a big factor. I spent some time in a situation in Amsterdam where there was these women who were hiding for certain reasons, and they were struggling to cook. And so the recipes are based around what I found in that kitchen. So I photographed the whole kitchen, had a look. Didn't have any blenders, didn't have any of this. So a friend of mine said, well, why don't you just actually make all the recipes there? So there were some recipes where you'd use a blender, but if you haven't got a blender, you haven't got the money.
Yeah.
And I think you try to take away the barriers to get people to take that first step. Because once you make that first step, you can decide to become vegan, or you can decide to cut dairy out. But if you're not making that, then it's very difficult. And I think that's the big link to why people eat badly. I think the barriers are smaller than we think. I think we just focus on the wrong things.
Yeah, great. So you put this book together in our first lockdown.
Yes.
And here we are.
Yes.
What are your plans for
for the second lockdown? I don't know. That's
we don't
true.
know if it,
Maybe we should, have a break and play out. And I think there is a bombshell coming up, listeners. If you didn't already know, there is some big news coming. It might surprise you from the author of the Mince Cookbook, a magnificent mince. And also in this break, we're going to taste the delicious chocolate cake, very special chocolate cake that Damien has brought us.
Lovely.
Podcast Amsterdam.
Right. So yes, as Kathy hinted, a big. I mean, I can't imagine a bigger shift.
Yes.
And so.
Damien, tell us.
Yeah.
So I decided to go vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it certainly came across on your social media as a complete out of the blue shift. Is that how it was, or is it something that you've been toying with for a while?
I've been toying with it for a while. Look, the business I work in, your customers tend to be these very kind of upwardly mobile, 20s to 40s people, and they're adopting veganism at a rate, or plant-based, let's say, at a rate a lot longer, a lot larger than anybody else. The uptake is huge.
Yeah.
And as a chef, you should always have self-doubt. You should always doubt yourself. And I think if you don't doubt yourself as a chef, then, and you're confident, you get you
get a bit lazy.
I think so. And as a classically trained chef, you learn eggs lift things, butter enriches things. You got these principles that the Escoffier school teach you, and then so veganism, you're kind of trying to fit veganism into that. I realised it's not a trend. I realised it's something much bigger. I used to make fun of vegans, so obviously if you check through the social media, there's a lot of abuse.
Well, that's why, yes, because I was aware that, sorry to interrupt, but, the photos that were coming through were quite often burger, really juicy, delicious looking burgers and that sort of thing. And then suddenly, the very next post, like, Damien's gone vegan.
So I kind of did it because I thought, well, I'm doing things. I'm cooking vegan food, but I don't really understand it. I can pretend I understand it. I think I understand it. But which milk would you use for cooking? Which milk would you use for binding? What would you use for sauces? That kind of thing. And I think I'm doing it because I have to try and live it for my customers.
Yeah.
Okay. How do I get this flavour into it? How do I use this nutritional yeast? What level of miso should I use? And until I do it, I can't possibly know that.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you discovered aquafaba?
Yeah. Well, it's in the cake.
What is
this delicious cake we're eating.
Yeah, I think it's minging. Honestly, I really do. I'm not going to say like I'm one of these glorious vegans. I'm struggling a little bit. So I'm known for my chocolate cakes, big
I can
time.
See why.
But my normal chocolate cake is something that I'm constantly trying to get as rich and as chocolatey as possible. A bit like Gilbert Glub, that when he eats that chocolate, I'm kind of looking for that on there, on that movie. So I wanted to try and do it with vegan. So how am I going to, with sweet potatoes and avocado, and this has actually got black beans in it and things like that. So I'm really trying to get that kind of chocolate cake experience, but to do it. And you know what? It's like starting over again. You're learning as a chef. It's like when I was a commis chef and I was thinking, how can I make, because after a while as a chef, you become accomplished. You understand, you can change things around. But as a vegan chef, you have to start again. And I don't like chickpea juice, to be honest. There's got to be something better out there than that. But I'll find it.
Yeah,
because I'm kind of belligerent about this.
Good.
Sort of to say, like, I've got an opinion as a chef, and I think if the best thing these poor vegans have got is bloody chickpea juice to make things.
Is that what that A thing
Aquafaba,
is? Aquafaba is chickpea juice.
Yeah.
Well, this we've tasted in the music break your famous chocolate cake, but in its new form, a vegan version.
Yeah.
And we understand that obviously it's an experimental phase, but my God, Damien.
Stop right there.
Cake?
You've cracked it.
I think the thing for me was yesterday, even when I'm making it, I'm taking it out of the oven, I'm thinking, how sloppy does that have been when I take it out of the oven? I think if I'd have stuck to the point where it had to be clean when it came out, then it would have been disastrous. Yeah. So
the whole sort of terminology of baking needs a slight
everything
shift.
changes. Everything that you know, or the instincts that you've honed over cooking for 25 years has completely changed because the texture's changed.
Because this is actually my breakfast, listeners, because I didn't eat anything else. And chocolate cake, and it's quite a good, generous slice you gave me. It's a bit heavy to start the day with normally, chocolate, but it's so light and nice, but still substantial and rich.
Yeah,
it's the balance is brilliant.
Yeah. It's got
Hats
lovely
off
texture.
to you.
Yeah, and all the richness that you want.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, vegan food is not healthy. It's healthier. There's still 225 grams of sugar in that.
Wow. Yeah, well, cake,
Yeah. So some people have this idea, it's vegan, it's really healthy. I'm not sure about that, but I think if you replace butter with avocado and sweet potato, then it's getting there.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
It's getting there. Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I'll do it to the point where I'll understand it, and hopefully it'll influence how I go forward. Maybe I'll stay, maybe I won't, but I'm doing it for the customers.
Yeah, well, no.
So can we predict then that there will be a vegan cookbook, maybe not mince-based, but a gay vegan cookbook coming?
I am definitely working on another book at the moment, and I enjoyed the experience last time, but I understand what it takes, and I understand how you can mess it up. So I've decided to write another book. I started it, I did the ideation of it, but I'm going to get more people involved, ask more people, and hopefully have a bigger goal at the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting. So what have been the challenges so far with your conversion to veganism? What are you missing things? How are you replacing that?
Cheese.
Yeah.
And
Well, we had an interview a couple of weeks ago with Max and Bean. Are you familiar with them? They're vegan.
Oh yeah, I've
plant-based
heard
cheese.
it. Yeah.
And I mean they do some great cheeses. But I know this is absolutely. I know I sympathise with you. It would be my downfall, I think, too.
And forgetting you're vegan, because that's happened. You know, like you're just about to put something.
Oops.
And I do taste things at work, because obviously I can't be like, say, I'm not putting that in my mouth, whatever.
Yeah.
So I tend to, as a chef, you have to learn how to spit. So you have to taste your food and spit.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to swallow it.
Yeah.
Other people are doing it, so if it's going to poison you, it's going to poison them. But you want the flavour and taste. So there is that. But actually, I'm not really missing much.
Yeah.
But then again, the restaurants aren't open, so it's...
Yeah, well, I guess.
Yeah.
Perhaps you're not having the full range of
No.
experiences.
But like you were saying, the cheese, Max and Bean said, because they've recreated a nice blue cheese and some nice creamy cheeses, but it's getting that holy grail is the meltable cheese that you could sprinkle on top of a pizza or something.
I kind of wonder how much dairy there is actually in that plastic cheddar that goes on burgers.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, and I mean some of the sort of stuff you get out the wall in Fabo. I wonder how much meat's in that. Really, it's probably classed as vegan.
Of course.
Exactly. Yes.
So I was kind of reading below the line on your social media posts as well about your announcement of turning vegan, and what I really enjoyed was actually the diversity of comments that you get.
Yeah.
You clearly have very broad range of friends and contacts and things. So
absolutely.
So what's the general response? Would you say?
Insults, really, but that's my friends. I have some people are embarrassed by their friends. Look, my friends are my friends. They're from my military time in the UK, and they're very open, and I love that. I love the comments. I wouldn't cleanse it for the moment.
Yeah. No, I actually really enjoyed your responses, which were very sort of measured and just kind of, well, this is what it is, just take it or not.
You're not going to win the argument, are you? They're going to tear you to bits, and memes are coming and stuff like that. And I'm getting pictures of steaks saying, "You can't eat this because you're one of them now." What a Tory? It's like I don't know what's worse. There's a lot of things you could be, but I think my friends expect me to be a vegan. Yeah. So, but actually, there is some interest in it.
I think that this is what's fantastic about what you're doing. I think actually, it's the more people that are open to it and share that openness, the more people that are going to just come to it because my friends tried it, so maybe I should. And
I think if you don't challenge yourself, what do you achieve? I mean, if I do this and I fail, let's say I wrote that cookbook and then I failed, and then it was crap, and then 600 people downloaded it, and then I don't know what the measure of success was. But then I knew I couldn't write a book. Then and you kind of move on and you do other things.
Try something else.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem in this world at the moment is people are too scared to fail at things because everything has to be a success. Yeah. And that's one of the traits of social media, to be honest with you. Yeah. And I don't care.
Judgment everywhere, but you don't care, no?
No, I really don't care. I never have and I never will.
Good for you.
I put my cooking failures on Instagram. I find it more entertaining when I burn stuff quite a lot. And, so I like to share that with people.
Good.
And I think the same with the cake. I'm quite willing to experiment with it, and I'm quite willing to say, do you find it too dry? Is it this? Because I think cooking's a journey anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
you're absolutely right. This is if you're not learning with cooking, then you
if you think you've mastered it, then it's it.
You're too big-headed.
Yeah.
But I guess you're still in the experimental phase then with the vegan kind of recipes. Would you say?
Yeah, I am. I'm definitely. what do you use coconut milk for? What is it? I know it's in recipes, and you look at it and you go, okay, I'm the guy who likes to look at 4 recipes. Say, okay, why is he using that? What does that give? And I'll prepare the 4 recipes, and I think, okay, well, actually 1 and 3 work well. I'll combine the 2, and there you go. I very rarely start from a blank page.
Yeah.
I mean, Escoffier wrote the book that we studied, so anybody who thinks they're creating their own recipes is a liar. But you do have and I think one of the beautiful things about food is that you can make a slight change to a recipe, a different ingredients, and you change the texture and everything completely.
Yeah.
And that's the skill.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of chefs that try and make things too complicated to be different.
Yeah.
And that's insecurity.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like this. This is my kind of cooking. Just good and honest, straightforward.
Yeah.
And some of the routes for this that you were talking about with the food bank, I think the food stall bank here and stuff, and obviously there's a lot of demand still at the food banks, and the work that you were doing with what's it called, the big feed?
One Big Feed.
One Big Feed.
Follow them on Facebook. They do fantastic work. Yeah.
I imagine with those events and stuff, I mean, you've experienced a lot socially and doing that and seeing it in person, but with the lockdown, the partial lockdown, I suppose those activities can't continue for a while.
Actually, the government have stepped up.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and I'm quite open, and I've got a bit of a controversial view about this whole thing, which I really want to share. Is that I think charity sometimes can be quite cuddly, and unfortunately, the people that we feed are not cuddly. I've seen full-scale brawls happen in the meal hall where the women have to go in and break them up, because if I went in there, it would be
make it worse.
Yeah, certainly. And they're people I don't think who are going to improve their lives, because and some of the charities tend to want to help things that are a little bit more fluffy and nice, whatever. And what I'm really pleased with now is that there's a lot of organisations getting together to make sure that they're all right. So actually the government stepped up. They're in hotels and things like that. Food's being brought to them. And my sort of proposition to the government and to the mayor is carry it on. Why didn't you do this before?
Yeah.
Why when the refugees arrived, and loads of help were given to the refugees, which is fantastic, and they went on and made a success of their lives very quickly. That money that was left over there was never put back into the system to help the standard, I'd say like sort of your regular homeless people with regular problems in Amsterdam. Yeah. And I think it's a broader issue. Look, feeding people, you can only do a little bit. You're giving them a meal, and then it lasts until they're hungry. But I think one of the reasons I was motivated to do the book was that it might, if one of them did get into a flat, which one did, and got the book and tried it a little bit and decided to do it, you start getting a routine, you go to the shop. All these small steps can really change things. And for me, I think the pandemic has kind of brought out some good in people. We can't go in the place now, but somebody is. Yeah,
because social distancing. Just think the big feed or the big cook. It's like, we cannot go to restaurants, but also we cannot have big dinners anymore with the number of people. So people should. Like, they might be given a food parcel, but think what can they do with it? And that's it. So they cannot just go to the food bank and get this communal meal, which is a shame because you miss out socially, or they do. Maybe less fights.
And to be honest, in the summer, they spend a lot of time in the park.
Yes, that's true.
Drinking and enjoying themselves and stuff. So you tend to be less busy in the summer, but the winter months are the months when they really rely on hot food.
Yes,
and that's going to be difficult, and I don't know what's happening there. I sort of I did a reach out last week where I asked what was happening. I'm sure that some things are happening, but if you look at it, when the restaurants all closed previously, they gave all their food away. Chefs started doing stuff for homeless people, and for us who'd been working at helping One Big Feed, been volunteering, especially Matt, we're quite cynical about it, saying, well, why didn't you do this before? All of a sudden now, I'm not. Look, it all comes from a good place, but stop the virtue signalling and help them. Do a shift, just once a month. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And we feed 300 people on €200.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is where because a lot of the costings that I had costed. So the book costings that I had actually costed for One Big Feed.
Yeah.
So I realised it's possible to do it.
Yeah. And for listeners, if you want a taste of doing this sort of thing, perhaps, with your virtue, feeling. There is a nice project called the Stolen Project, which is based at the Marnixstraat, and I'm not sure if it'll be stopped now under the social distancing. I'll have to check with the partial lockdown, but there's a lot of homeless that gather by the Stolen Project, and they have this other project called Coconut and Under the Koken, and Hetty runs this, and small groups like from businesses or teams of friends and stuff can go, especially in the winter months, and cook for the homeless there. You just come in during the day, you buy the ingredients yourselves, and you cook as a team, and dinner and like maybe another course, dinner and dessert, and then you kind of go. But it's like gives you an eye open because you'll see how they come in and they eat and whatever, and maybe you'll talk to some people, maybe you won't, but you kind of have that. Rather than just giving money or giving a food parcel, you see it for your own eyes. Yeah. And you're right, some of the people are not that social at all, and some of them are quite happy to talk to you and stuff. But you get this, you just see it for your own eyes, and you try to give something back.
There is some fantastic small organisations in Amsterdam doing great work with the homeless, and continue to do that work now. Yeah. Some of them with social distance. And to be honest with you, I think that it's a shame that they have to step up when we know there's money available for this.
Yeah.
Especially with the having a left leaning mayor that we have now. You think that would be high on the
almost automatic.
Sometimes it's kind of crazy to think that there are homeless in Amsterdam as well as a successful city. You don't often see it. In other cities, you might see it more on the street, but sadly there is. And I don't. With all sorts of the cost of living in Amsterdam going up as well is kind of a sad thing. But good that we've got people like you, Damien, to. What's called democratise
food.
Yeah. Good stuff. So we'll put some links on Pinterest if anyone is interested in doing some voluntary work. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to know quite how that's happening, what form that's taking currently, but longer term, I'm sure things will be... There's always going to be a need to feed people.
We've got to keep listeners. You've got to keep an eye on Damien and see the results of his vegan journey. We'll be looking at the Instagram pictures particularly, but also hopefully another cookbook. But the existing cookbook for mince for meat eaters, if you're happy to eat mince, it's great. So download it. It's free. Yeah. So where can people go to follow you and to already get the cookbook and things?
So on the cookbook, it's free. It's on damienchef.com. DamienChef.com, is it? Oh, Chef Damien. I can't remember. DamienChef.com. And on Instagram, I'm Damien the Chef. There's a link in my bio on Instagram.
Perfect. And Facebook as well, right?
And Facebook, yeah.
We've got links as well on the post after the show and on our Pinterest board. So you can find Damien. I'm just looking forward to more photos. The aubergine burger was a good photo.
Yeah, that looked really good. Yes. With, was it fried artichoke?
Yeah.
Jerusalem artichoke?
Jerusalem artichoke. Yeah. A lot of people say, how do you fry a globe artichoke? I'm like,
it's different.
And for those people who are listening and were like, oh, what's this chocolate cake like? We've got photos we'll share.
Yeah. But you can't have my slice. Oh, no.
Podcast Amsterdam.
We're back. It's Amsterdam Kitchen, and we've enjoyed talking to Damien so much that we've covered what we wanted to cover, but he's still here with us, and we wanted to just keep going, really.
Well, as a chef, you know what's going on in the restaurant scene in Amsterdam, locally, and in the Netherlands, and it's a difficult time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's horrendous, and there's no way out of this. It's really difficult, and you were asking about the best way to support. It's through takeouts. The only thing that matters at the moment is money. It's turnover. Yeah, and they're getting some sort of bailout, but it's a bloodbath for restaurants.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Really difficult. You're talking about restaurants are not that profitable anyway.
Yes,
no.
Yes.
Single figure profit if you're lucky. If you haven't got to make a huge investment, this just must be terrible.
Yeah, and of all the industries, they have been the hardest hit, I think, during all of this. It was just in the it's just from the beginning. It was Horeca that was targeted. Well, not targeted is the wrong word, but affected. Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah,
and there's some fantastic entrepreneurship come out of this. So, like some people do frozen pizzas. Inea, for example, are doing fantastic frozen pizzas. I think people have innovated.
Yeah.
There is no positive in this, but if there is anything to take from it, is that people have looked to other things. And maybe when it all starts back up, maybe they'll have a different perspective on customers, and people will realise what they've missed out on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I found is that interesting is before the coronavirus came along, many restaurants in the Netherlands would only open in the evenings, or cafes would only open in the lunchtime. And my thought being is, with a business head on, is that you're paying quite a high rent, especially in Amsterdam. It seemed to me, and also, often closing on Mondays, or only open a few days a week, like Wednesday through Saturday and things, and not on Sundays, and certainly that whole Mondays thing. And I would just think, you're paying so much in rent. Should you be open for lunch and dinner for sure, and not half the week? And now I'm seeing that restaurants are saying, oh, we're open for lunch now, or oh, we're going to be open from Tuesdays now, or Mondays and stuff. And I'm like, well, you should have been doing that from the beginning, surely. I don't know. What's your viewpoint on that?
I think it all depends on the vergunning, the amount of the whether they're allowed, because actually there's a stipulation on licence now, and that could be people living above it.
Oh,
for example, I know there's a kind of been a bit of a moratorium, with the right word on it, to sort of allow it to open a little bit. And of course, you want to try and get the same amount of people through. A friend of mine, for example, he said, well, I didn't have a problem with the lockdown last time because I didn't make any money in March and April. I've had a fantastic summer because people stayed in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
That's not that. It's not the case for everybody, and it's probably a very unique situation. But I think people did have a good summer, and that has helped a little bit.
Yeah.
If it had been a regular summer, everyone had gone off to Austria or skiing or whatever they do, and same with winter sport. People will go away. So maybe they'll have a better January, possibly. But if they're open,
interesting. Yeah.
So there is other dynamics at play, but I think the outlook is very gloomy.
Pretty grim. Yeah. Yeah, God. Well, how can we pick ourselves up from this?
What would you hope out of all the restaurants that in the Amsterdam would you think I really want them to survive because they're my favourite restaurants and places to eat?
Breda and the Single.
I absolutely agree with you.
I've yet to go. I know. Kathy's always raved about it. But
it is a bit of a fine dining place.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
fantastic.
yeah.
But brilliant.
Full flavours, honest flavours from that tart. Breda, is that a Brabant province?
Yeah. It's somewhere bottom near Belgium. Somewhere I'm pointing.
It's always
what
been
a restaurant,
fantastic adventure, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think I've eaten there 20 more. No, more.
Wow.
Yeah, they've had a lot of my salary for sure. Yeah. I think at the point where she goes, where did you? That's good, Breda. It's just
you just wow.
It's a bit of a treat, and they treat you well. Service is good, but it's not stuffy at all.
No.
And you definitely taste dishes that you would never have tasted elsewhere, and with combinations and all sorts of things.
Best restaurant in Amsterdam, hands down.
Wow.
Right. I mean, there is Michelin star restaurants.
Yeah.
I liked Liberai Sushi when that was underneath the Waldorf.
Oh, yes.
Loved
the Liberai
that.
Sushi,
But then, you've got to take a mortgage out to there because it's expensive, boozy lunch.
Yeah, Breda is more affordable, especially, and they used to do a special deal on lunches for their courses because you have a set meal, you know, it's not a la carte or anything. Glad you agree with me.
I've never been for lunch. I've only ever did the dinner.
Yeah.
But you can just rock up off the street. Normally they've got a couple of tables for regulars. You come in, they go, okay, we'll just put you there. Just can you wait 5 minutes or something? I've been there quite drunk a few times and sort of they'll have you back.
Yes. And it is good for people spotting and just looking at the other clients. I definitely do that.
Is it?
It's like we're on the corner. Like it's sort of it's a bit
corner.
further down. Yeah.
All right.
Well, listeners, I think I will predict that Breda will survive. So after the partial lockdown and maybe there's a full lockdown coming, I think they have enough of a following, like Damien, loyal fan, and also us. That I think they will keep them going. They are doing takeouts.
I was going to say, I wonder what they're doing now. So they are doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the full-on, obviously the restaurant experience. It's. I don't think the takeout will do them justice so much in a way. No matter how good that might be and stuff. And they're related to the Maris Piper, which is more of a bistro place.
Also.
And you know what? The same people behind both of those then have just announced they're doing a kind of toasty type of startup. So You can see pictures of this cast iron kind of griddle toasty maker, and they've got some amazing pictures. I think I put them on Instagram, because this is available by delivery, and it's much more of a cheap eats, but it won't be that ultra cheap as your normal toasty price, but very good.
Perfect for this time of year.
The best. I think their aim is to make the best tosties, but they've got like a hot dog style toasty with crispy onions and stuff like that, and some other things. They're being creative with that, so they're going to all budgets and all kind of
That sounds good.
which is good actually. In this,
Didn't they do nose to tail as well?
I think so. Maybe
Is that still open?
I don't know. Ooh, the restaurant gossip. It's all changed.
That was also fantastic as well.
Oh yeah, restaurant worlds. What do you think? Other favourites from Amsterdam?
Oh, Graham's Kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, if Breda is the best, then Graham's Kitchen's got to be second.
Ooh, and he's a Brit as well, Graham, isn't he?
Yeah, he is over in De Pipe, right?
Yeah,
we had a really lovely meal there. And we did do the takeout during the earlier lockdown. So
much smaller, so probably need your support more than Breda if you're going to choose to support a restaurant, I think. Yeah. So that's a good tip. Yeah, Graham's Kitchen in the Pipe, if you haven't been there. I've only been once. Very nice. On a corner.
Yeah, nice spot.
Lovely little neighbourhood. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And of course, some time ago, at some stage, you had to move out of Amsterdam.
Yes.
And what's the food scene like in your new kind of neighbourhood?
So I live in Hoofddorp.
Yeah.
A lot of people slag it off, and they're right. No, it's really good. It's different. The Shallow Man, Amsterdam Shallow Man.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he's kind of like the biggest knocker of Hoofddorp,
Is he? Does he live there now?
No, he doesn't.
No. Oh no, he knocks it. I see. Yeah.
He makes fun of us from Hoofddorp.
All right.
But he's banned. We're going to shoot him on sight if he gets off the train.
Do you hear that, Shallow Man? Amsterdam Shallow Man.
He's going to get it.
Yeah.
It's a typical it's a dormitory town, but it's become massively expensive, but polluted with expats. And they've got a fantastic pizza restaurant called Amici. It's really good, fantastic. And they deliver in a sort of Audi sports car, like an Audi R8, which my son loves. How they can do that, I don't know. They can tell when you pay the bill. It's a funny place. They've got a fantastic restaurant there, which is open in the business park. And I think it's about to get 1 Michelin star.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember the name of the place, but we went there once and we had a really... And it's kind of Breda level.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So you've got to get a taxi to and from there and stuff. Yeah,
but that needs more places, because I think I was in that business district area and you could just get a coffee and that was it. But, if you're stuck there for lunch, it's just like, where are we going to go?
Hoofddorp's a strange place, but it's crap, but it's good. I can't explain it, but yeah. And I think during lockdown, it's been we've realised the benefit of living somewhere like Hoofddorp. You're not far from the Kokenhof and then Lisse and the fields and stuff. You're not 5 minutes on the bus to Haarlem.
Yes.
So I'm kind of in the middle. I love Amsterdam more than Haarlem anyway, but sorry Haarlem expats, but I do. Amsterdam's much better. But it's only a 20-minute drive, and I'm trying to sell Hoofddorp.
Yes,
Is it working? Do you want to buy it?
I think so. It's true. I know lots of people moving to Hoofddorp actually as well, and it's very popular. And a couple of tennis clubs out there that I play against as well, backwards and forwards.
Oh yeah.
I think ultimately it's getting your head around the fact that the Netherlands and Amsterdam as the region, it's small comparatively to when you're coming from other big cities and areas like I'm a Londoner, and you're from Sunderland and stuff. It's just much smaller scale, so you could maybe move out of Amsterdam, but it's not really that far. It's like living in Wimbledon or something from London, And
we are getting the metro.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah, big news.
Wow,
so it's big news. Stick that in, Shallow Man. There you go. We're getting the metro.
We're going to be on the North South line and go to the Michelin star.
Yeah. There you go.
Very good.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask, actually, or maybe, just quick. So, because you mentioned earlier, but the whole plant-based vegan movement has been more than a movement. You think it's a real seismic shift in cooking. And I wondered if you, once we get through this sort of downtime for HoReCa, what your next... do you see any other trends on the horizon, or is it just too difficult right now with everyone just trying to get by?
I thought you were going to ask me this question, so I think Amsterdam was peak HoReCa before. Before I think you could get food everywhere. Yeah, everyone was exploiting stuff. I think you've got to go back to when I first arrived, Amsterdam was like a culinary wasteland. The coffee was horrible. The food was expensive. Good food was expensive. I think now it's kind of changed. And what I think has been lucky about Amsterdam is it's had a rise in culinary at the right time. Because the young people are sort of eating more consciously. They're more careful about what they eat. They're more thoughtful about what they eat. And it's coincided with that.
Yeah.
I think that's where Amsterdam is. I know they're a late adopting nation, I believe that's the buzzword on LinkedIn. People on LinkedIn call it. And I think it's worked for them in this sense because they've it's gone from being a culinary wasteland to actually quite vibrant.
Yeah. Yes. And Amsterdam in general is such a creative environment that those two things perhaps marrying up really nicely right now.
Yeah.
Forward thinking, things on food waste and other things like that, more social.
They've done it better than anybody else. Yeah. Absolutely. I think what will happen after the pandemic, after this unfortunate thing, horrible word, has come out, I think you'll start to see the market split into two ways. You'll see a budget sector. Yeah. When I say budget, I don't mean cheap, but I mean people will discount, they'll offer certain things. It was already starting to happen in a way because of the saturation. And I think the luxury market will still continue because actually in Amsterdam most people have money. And I think veganism will come on.
Yeah.
I think plant-based is becoming more the thing. So if you think about vegan, like, traditional meat eater like I was, loved it, and then vegan that I am now for a while. And I think in the middle you've got this vegetarian sector where people who consciously eat better meat will understand that meat's expensive and they'll sort of sit somewhere in the middle. They might look. We did a study at my work and we looked at the most polluting items we bought with University of Wageningen. It was milk.
Gosh.
Wasn't meat, it was milk.
Yeah.
So if you're looking from a CO2 perspective, what's the English word? A carbon neutral perspective.
Yeah.
Milk is the worst thing.
The Dutch will never give up milk. Not even grown men sit at lunch and have a glass of milk.
Cartons of milk.
You never know, it's possible. It's possible. And that's the thing, I think that's what you're going to see. I think the pendulum will stop in the middle.
Yeah.
And you'll be somewhere between veganism to occasional meat eater.
Yeah.
But I think less meat will be consumed.
But less meat overall, yeah.
Podcast Amsterdam.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us, Damien.
Thank you very much, Damien.
Thanks for having me.
Amsterdam Kitchen. Join us live on Saturday mornings
From 10 till 12.
on Broadcast Amsterdam.
Or catch up later.
It's all online.
Broadcast Amsterdam, your local radio station, 24/7 and on demand. Or on broadcastamsterdam.nl.